The sun was setting behind the dusty hills of a small, forgotten village, its orange glow washing over the cracked earth and broken homes. The air was quiet, except for the sound of a little girl's bare feet crunching over gravel. In her tiny hands, she held a dented lunchbox, one that looked far too big for her fragile frame. Her name was Isla, just 8 years old, thin, with tangled hair and a face that carried both innocence and sorrow. She walked quickly, glancing around as if she feared someone might stop her. When she reached the edge of the village, she stopped in front of an old stone well, half covered with wild grass and surrounded by silence. She knelt beside it, placed the lunchbox on the ground, and softly knocked 3 times on the stones. "Mom," she whispered with a trembling voice, "I brought you food already. Please eat before it gets cold." Then she sat quietly, waiting. But there was no answer, only the sound of the evening wind. Isla smiled faintly as if she'd heard something only she could understand. "I know, Mom," she said softly. "You always say you're proud of me. I'll go now. I'll come again tomorrow." She stood up, brushed the dust from her clothes, and began her long walk home. From a distance, a man watched her. He sat inside a sleek black car parked near the roadside, his eyes following the little girl's every move. He was Mr. Haroun Malik, a successful millionaire businessman who had returned to his childhood village after years abroad. He had come to inspect some land he'd bought to build a small school for orphans, a promise he'd made to his late wife. But something about the sight of that small girl by the well froze him. Why would a child bring food to a well? He asked his driver to stop. "Who is that little girl?" The driver, an old villager, sighed. "Sir, that's Isla, poor soul, lost her mother last year. Her father is gone too, no one knows where. She lives alone in an old hut near the forest edge." Haroun frowned. Then who was she talking to at the well? The driver looked away. "People say she's gone a bit mad with grief. Her mother, she took her own life in that very well." Haroun felt his heart sink. Oh my God! Every evening, Isla came to the same well. She would bring whatever food she managed to collect, sometimes leftover bread, sometimes a half-rotten fruit she found in the market trash. She believed her mother was still there. "Mom doesn't want to leave," she'd tell the village women. "She said she'll wait for me." Most of them pitied her. Some mocked her. But Isla didn't care. She was sure her mother could hear her voice echo through the darkness below. Inside her heart lived a hope so strong. It refused to die, even when hunger clawed at her stomach or cold winds froze her little fingers. That night Haroun couldn't sleep. He kept seeing the girl's eyes, so innocent, yet filled with unbearable pain. He thought of his own daughter, who had died young in an accident. Maybe that's why this little girl's sorrow struck him so deeply. The next day he returned to the well. From afar, he saw Isla again, this time holding a small piece of bread wrapped in paper. He approached her gently. "Hello there, what's your name?" She looked up with shy eyes. "Isla." He smiled softly. "That's a beautiful name. Who are you bringing food for?" She hesitated, then said proudly, "For my mom. She lives here." Haroun's throat tightened. "Here, inside the well." Isla nodded seriously. "Yes, but she said she'll come out one day. I just have to keep feeding her so she's not hungry." Haroun knelt beside her, tears stinging his eyes. "How long have you been doing this?" "Since she went asleep in the well," she whispered. "I promised I'll never let her starve." He couldn't hold back his tears. Haroun began visiting Isla every day. He brought her food, toys, and clothes. Slowly, she began to smile again, shyly at first, then with the full warmth of a child rediscovering joy. But he wanted to know the full truth, what had really happened to her mother. One evening, he spoke to the village elder, who told him the story. Isla's mother, Sarah, had been a widow. She worked day and night to feed her child, but when she couldn't pay the rent, the landlord threatened to throw them out. One night, desperate and broken, she left Isla asleep and walked to the well, never to return. When the villagers found out, they buried Sarah quietly. But Isla never saw the body. No one had the heart to tell her the truth. So she believed her mother was still in the well, waiting for her. A few weeks later, a terrible storm hit the village. Trees broke, roofs flew off, and water flooded the roads. Isla's small hut collapsed under the wind. When Haroun rushed to find her, she was nowhere to be seen. Then someone shouted. She went to the well. She said her mom is cold and she needs to keep her warm. Haroun's heart stopped. He drove through the storm and found Isla near the well, soaked, shivering, clutching a candle in her hands. He ran to her. Isla, stop. She turned, crying. She's cold, uncle. I need to give her light. Before he could stop her, she slipped on the wet stones and Haroun dove forward, catching her just before she fell. He held her tightly as she sobbed. Mom's hungry, Uncle Haroun, she'll be mad at me. He looked into her tearful eyes and said softly, No, Isla, your mom isn't mad. She's not hungry anymore. She's watching you from above. She wants you to eat, to live, and to smile again. Isla stared at him, confused, then slowly broke down into his arms. After that night, Haroun made a promise to give Isla a home. He adopted her, moved her into his mansion in the city, and gave her everything she had ever been denied: love, education, safety. Years passed. Isla grew into a graceful, kind-hearted young woman. She carried her mother's memory in her heart, but her pain had turned into strength. She and Haroun together opened a foundation for abandoned and orphaned children, naming it Sarah's Light. The well was rebuilt into a small garden, a place where children could plant flowers for their lost loved ones. One evening, as Isla sat by the garden, Haroun came and placed a hand on her shoulder. Your mother would be proud of you, Isla. Isla smiled through tears. She always said love never dies. I think she sent you to me, Uncle Haroun. He smiled back. Maybe she did. Maybe love finds a way, even through pain, even through a well. The wind rustled through the trees, carrying a whisper that only Isla seemed to hear. I'm proud of you, my little girl.